Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be diving into the world of archetypes.
So fun.
Yeah, specifically, we're going to be looking at the High Priestess and the Empress.
Okay.
And I know what you might be thinking, like, oh, this is just for like tarot card people. But I promise you, you don't have to be into like mysticism or anything to get something out of this.
Right.
These figures, I think they hold insights for literally everyone.
I agree.
Yeah. So we've got some excerpts here that are comparing and contrasting the High Priestess and the Empress. And honestly, just reading through them, it's got me thinking, like, what is it about these archetypes that just, they stick with us, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what makes them so compelling? Even if, like, you're not somebody who's, like, doing tarot readings every day, what can we learn from these figures?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, and to help me kind of unpack all of this, you know, I've got our expert here,
Absolutely.
ready to dive in.
Let's do it. Archetypes are really fascinating. And they're like these universal patterns
Okay.
of energy or behavior. And they really seem to resonate across like all different cultures and time periods.
Yeah.
And with these two, the High Priestess and the Empress, they really do capture this like fundamental duality.
Duality.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we got to start there.
Yeah.
What does that even mean in this context? Because what I'm seeing in our source material is that the High Priestess, she's all about the inner world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Intuition, mystery, hidden knowledge, all that good stuff.
Right.
But then you have the Empress, and she is very much about the outer world.
Yeah. Creation, abundance.
It's like a force of nature, but then also artistic expression too.
Yes.
So how do those two even work together?
It's not so much that they're like working together, but it's more like recognizing that both of these energies are within us. Like, think of it this way. The High Priestess, she might be that, quiet inner voice.
Okay.
That's telling you to like slow down, trust your gut, look a little deeper.
Yeah.
Whereas the Empress, she's that energy that you channel when you take action.
Okay.
So, when you're super passionate about a project and you're nurturing it, bringing it into being, that's Empress energy.
So it's not that one is better than the other,
Exactly.
but it's more about like recognizing when to use which one.
Yeah, when to tap into each of those energies because they're both within us.
Oh, wow. Oh.
Yeah.
That makes me think about like all the times I've had a good idea and then I just like overthink it
Right.
and I never do anything with it.
And you just squash it.
Yeah, maybe that's my inner High Priestess, like being a little too strong or something,
It's totally possible. And there are times when, we really do need to tune into that High Priestess energy. And
Yeah.
our sources, they talk about all the symbols associated with her.
Okay.
The moon, the veil, the scroll.
Okay.
These all point to that power of contemplation, of going within.
Yeah.
To find that deeper wisdom. So it's less about doing and more about being, which I know can sound really counterintuitive.
Especially these days.
Yes, exactly, especially in our culture.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of a breath of fresh air, don't you think?
I can see how that would be powerful. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Especially when it comes to like making decisions, you know.
Yeah.
It's like instead of rushing into things, you're taking that time.
To be thoughtful.
Yeah.
Right.
To really listen to yourself.
Totally.
Okay.
And that's kind of where the Empress comes in, right?
Yeah.
So once we've, tapped into that inner wisdom, that High Priestess energy,
Right.
the Empress energy is what allows us to like take that knowledge and actually do something with it.
To get real.
Yeah, to manifest it in the world, in the outer world.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking of the Empress, what I always find really interesting about her is that connection to both nature and creativity.
Yeah, it's a powerful combination.
Like she embodies like the fertile ground where things grow. But she's also the artist, who's like shaping that growth.
Shaping and molding.
Yeah.
It's true. And our sources definitely emphasize that, that duality.
Yeah.
They talk about the Empress being surrounded by these fields, trees, rivers, you can practically hear the birds singing just thinking about it.
Yeah, right.
Like,
It's so visual.
it is.
It's so interesting how these archetypes can be so evocative.
They are. They really do tap into something deep, don't they?
They do, yeah. Now I kind of want to go for a walk in the park.
Right.
Yeah, that's the Empress's influence right there.
Exactly. But it's not just about, literal nature, right?
Right.
It's about that like life-giving energy that fuels all creation.
Okay.
So whether it's a garden or, even a business idea,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
anything that we nurture and bring into being.
So would you say then that the Empress is all about action? Like kind of the opposite of the High Priestess is more, go within energy.
It's not quite as simple as that.
Oh, okay.
It's not just about action for the sake of action, you know?
Right, yeah.
It's about purposeful creation.
Okay.
It's about taking that seed of inspiration
Yeah.
that we've gotten from connecting with the High Priestess,
Right.
and giving it form, giving it a real shape in the world.
Oh, okay. So it's almost like they do work together then.
In a way, yes. They're two sides of the same coin, really.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the High Priestess helps you connect with, like, your intuition.
Your deepest self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Empress gives you the power to actually, like, make it real.
To bring it forth.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And that's where this whole idea of, duality and equilibrium comes in.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's not about choosing one or the other,
Okay.
It's about understanding that both of those energies are essential for us to live a fulfilling and balanced life.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny, this whole conversation just made me think about, like, all those personality tests online
Oh, yeah.
that try to, like, put you in a box.
Are you an introvert or are you an extrovert?
Yeah, exactly. Are you a thinker or a doer?
Right.
But maybe it's not that black and white,
It's probably not.
Yeah, maybe we've got both of these things in us.
This capacity for both, absolutely.
Yeah.
And recognizing that, that's so important
Yeah,
because it lets us be more flexible. Okay.
more adaptable to whatever life throws at us.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So it's almost like when you're faced with something,
Uh-huh.
like a decision or a challenge, you kind of have to ask yourself,
Yeah, what do I need right now?
yeah, which one of these energies is going to help me out in this moment?
Exactly. It's about figuring out which tool is best for the job at hand, Sometimes it's going to be the stillness of the High Priestess,
Right.
and sometimes it's going to be that bold, creative energy of the Empress.
Okay.
It all depends.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That reminds me of this one time. It's funny because this whole thing makes me think about like my own creative work.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get really stuck in that like High Priestess mode,
Uh-huh.
overthinking every little thing.
Right. And then other times I'm like, just pure Empress energy, just
No.
like going for it.
Like diving right in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe, like, finding that balance is how I finally finish that novel I've been working on,
There you go.
Yeah.
That's really it, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the beauty of these archetypes, right?
Yeah.
They give us this framework for understanding ourselves.
Okay.
How we kind of move through the world.
Yeah.
They remind us that we have both.
Yeah.
Like we have that receptive, intuitive wisdom of the High Priestess, but we also have that active, creative force of the Empress.
It's like having all the tools,
Yes, exactly.
But how do we know which one to use? Like, how can I get better at accessing the High Priestess when I need her? Or, like, the Empress when it's time to, make stuff happen?
Well, it's interesting. Our sources actually point out this really cool connection to numerology.
Go.
So the High Priestess is often associated with the number 2,
Okay.
and 2 represents duality, obviously,
Right.
but also balance and choices.
Okay.
Whereas the Empress, she's linked to the number 3,
Okay.
and 3 is about creation, expansion.
Okay.
It's about what happens after you make a choice.
So it's almost like it's not just embodying these energies randomly, but they maybe work in a cycle.
Possibly. Yeah, it could be a cycle.
So I tap into, like, my High Priestess to weigh my options.
Right, exactly.
And then once I make a choice, then that Empress energy comes in and helps me, like, do it.
Exactly. You got it.
Well, that's so cool. Okay.
Yeah, it suggests that these things are all connected,
Right. It's not just like one or the other.
Exactly. They're part of this like dynamic flow.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, this has been so eye-opening. It's amazing how much we can get from these archetypes, even if we, like, don't know that much about tarot.
I know. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they offer such a powerful lens
Okay.
for self-reflection and growth, too.
Yeah, for sure.
So, just by understanding them better,
Right.
we can start to see those patterns in ourselves
Yeah.
and make more conscious choices about, how we live our lives.
That's amazing. Okay, so for anybody listening who's like, okay, I'm into this, I want to learn more, what would you suggest?
I would say just start paying attention to
Yeah.
yourself, to those moments in your life,
Yeah.
When do you feel that stillness of the High Priestess? And when do you feel that like go-getter energy of the Empress?
Oh, I love that.
And how can you find that sweet spot, that balance between the two?
Yeah.
To create a life that feels really fulfilling?
such a good thought to end on. A huge thank you to our expert for taking this deep dive with us. This was fantastic.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
And to everyone listening, we'll see you next time for another deep dive.